Hello everyone and welcome back to another Kerbal Space Program video, 10% Science Mode. These are the streams from last week, all bundled up into a little tiny little video for your viewing pleasure. Yep. Anyway. On Monday, we had just left Duna on our way back to Kerbin. Throughout the entire stream was just us trying to get back to Kerbin. I know, 2 hours of us trying to get back to Kerbin. Also, we played around with centrifugal force gravity, which was really fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it, which would prove that during the trip, they could have somewhat of a normal gravitational experience on the ship. I thought that was pretty cool. Science! I think we took so long that my little baby kitty wanted to physically let me know of her displeasure of the whole situation. First came the hooks. No, not hook to it. The hook. What are you doing? Come on. No, don't throw up. No, kitty, don't throw up. Oh, damn. Cat just threw up on the damn. Oh, mother sucker. Hold on, everybody. 1 second, please. Oh my gosh. Oh, don't. Oh, damn it. Oh, man. Oh, that's nasty. Oh, that's nasty.
And now, cats throwing up to techno. Look it up.
No, kitty, no.
Pookie Puke emoticon sorridente.
Okay, if you guys want to picture what's going on, I look like Cinderella right now, just minus the dress. And I'm scrubbing the floor. Everything will be just fine. Are you throwing up again?
UAKKKKK, it's everywhere. And on the ceiling?
Then came the I'm too small, I'm a baby, and I don't know how to not step on my poo when I go to the bathroom. But let me jump up on you because I want to love you anyway. We're going to warp here. No, kitty, don't, no. Ew! What is that? Oh, what is that? What do you got on your foot? What do you got in your foot? You got poop on your foot! You got poop on your foot and you jumped on my lap! Oh my gosh, what the frick is wrong with you, kitty? Oh! But finally, the real butt-clenching moment began. You see, we were coming in so hot because of a really awkward burn from Duna that we weren't exactly slowing down like we should have been. It was calculated that if we did not find some way to slow down, we were going to slam into Kerbin at 5,000-6,000 meters per second. Thankfully, the moon was just in the right orbit so that we could use that to help slow down the craft. Granted, I allowed, well, not me, but my audience allowed me to do several retries to make sure we got it right. The excuse was that just like in Apollo 13, everybody on Kerbin was doing research for us, doing simulations and stuff, so that by the time the crew of the Jolly Roger actually got to that point where they needed to make a maneuver, they already know what exactly and how long to burn. That was the lore of the whole thing. Anyway, we came in hot. We would do a maneuver burn that would take us almost 4,000 meters from the surface of the moon to slingshot us around back to Kerbin, but at a much slower speed. So slow, in fact, that we wouldn't really have to dive into Kerbin's atmosphere that much to slow down the rest of the way and get captured. But I will tell you that it was a butt pucker 12 event, as we didn't know if we would actually make it past not hitting something on the moon, or the moon itself. Point the way the maneuver node is telling you. I am pointing the way the maneuver node is telling me. What, do you want to go faster? 4 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go. So damn close. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so damn... We're going to call this the Jolly maneuver if it works. Oh, this is going to be so close. Oh my gosh, are we going to slam into it? Oh, we can see our shadow. Oh man. Whoa, mama. Oh, are we gonna slam into it? Oh my gosh, you can almost touch it. Oh, whoa. Oh, no. Oh man. Oh, damn, bro, damn. There you have it, a successful capture. And what kills me is that it took exactly that amount of fuel to get not only a successful capture, but a relatively decent orbit. Had we gone to Ike and tried to get science there, or had we done one more shuttle mission to Duna, we would have been screwed. It's funny how things come together. On Tuesday's stream, it was now time to bring our brave astronauts from the Jolly Roger back to the Kerbal Space Center. For that, we'd use our tried and trusted Kestrel design, passenger SSTO. All chat was excited at the fact that we were finally back after so much time in space around Duna. I will say it felt kind of weird being back at Kerbin. It really does. We've been around Duna for almost 2.5 weeks. Even everybody in chat agreed that it felt a little weird being back at Kerbin. But that's what I'm trying to get on this playthrough. That's what I'm trying to make people feel and realize. A lot of people, when they play KSP, they send out a mission, it lasts for a day, maybe real time, maybe 2, and then they're back at Kerbin. They land, plant a flag, do some contracts, maybe have some science, and then take off. That is not how we do things here. Every planet we're going to go to, we're going to make sure we have enough fuel and enough room to get as much science as possible. We're going to play it realistically, giving our Kerbals plenty of room and plenty of supplies, building a ship that looks like it could hold plenty of room and plenty of supplies. Not just some command chair duct taped to the side of a rocket. That's bull roar. Everyone who's been in the stream for the past few months now, actually, remember the time that the Jolly Roger was being built in orbit, slowly, painfully. They remember when the Jolly Roger was finally constructed and it was time to leave, that feeling of, oh, here we go. That feeling of arriving at Duna, and then the feeling of nearly losing one of the Kerbals, having to jury-rig and MacGyver the hell out of the entire situation just to somewhat finish the mission, and then heading back and running into all kinds of problems heading back. Then finally, after almost a month orbiting Duna and doing science, now we're back at Kerbin, and the crew is about to return back to Kerbin for a nice long vacation. It's a pretty cool experience, not gonna lie. Pretty cool. But anyway, everyone was asking whether or not we had enough room inside of the Kestrel to gather all the science from the actual mission, and we just had enough room for every single little experiment that we had. We have to remember that this is 10% science hard mode, and I have given myself limitations on hard mode. Most of these limitations I've already explained before, and that is to make missions realistic. If you're going to go to another planet, the ship needs to look like it can hold several people for 3 years at a time. It needs to be big. It needs to look like it can hold plenty of supplies and everything that the mission needs. On top of that, the other limitation is to not use the science modules in order to double, triple, or quadruple your science. We're not going to do that. But Veos will unlock the entire tech tree in one go. And what is the fun in that? If I wanted to do that, I would have played in sandbox mode. See, the fun in 10% science mode is having to think outside the box with limited parts and limited technology. It takes testing, it takes trial, it takes error, but when you finally get it right and look at the creation that you built using 5 pizza boxes and a paper clip, you can't help but feel like, holy crap, this is awesome. I did this. Sure, you could go into sandbox mode, download a mod that literally gives you a ship or an SSTO that has billions of meters per second delta V, makes everything super easy. Sure, you could do that. It's your game, have fun. So if that's what you find is fun, go for it. Me personally, I like the challenge of figuring out and solving problems. That's just me. So anyway, Jebediah Kerman would be the one to go up there and grab them and welcome them back home. The landing would of course be very Kerbal, but relatively safe since we've flown this craft many times before and it's proven itself. But here is the big caramba. Here's where everybody was placing their bets. How much science would we bring back? How much science is there from that mission? People were putting down 900. People were putting down 700. Some people would go crazy about the 2,000, 3,000. Numbers were popping up left and right. Drum roll, please. How much science did we bring back? Holy moly! Oh my goodness! What? 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 1700 science. Oh, whoa. I was like a kid at a candy store. Suddenly I had a big pot full of science money. We jumped right into that store and started buying up things left and right. Granted, I should have stopped ahead of, I should have stopped and thought about it. But I went a little nuts. That was my fault. I ended up buying up almost all the tier 5 stuff, when this entire time I could have climbed one of the tree limbs up to a higher tech. I wasn't thinking, but that's okay. We unlocked a lot of goodies. The challenge of somewhat low tech is still there. We unlocked the Panther jet engine, which is nice. Not very useful in what we need to do. It's not very powerful. It's probably good for a tiny little SSTO to be an air breathing type SSTO, but not powerful enough for anything larger than that. That's significant. However, we did unlock a rocket engine that would be extremely useful for future missions, especially in the area of SSTO. On Wednesday's stream, the stream was pretty much just us trying to develop new crafts using the new technology. The first craft to develop would of course be some sort of heavy cargo transport. I tried it with the Panthers, I really did. They do kind of get you higher up in the atmosphere before you can activate the main engine and save some fuel. Problem is that the Panthers only have so much power, and so the bigger the SSTO, the less power they can actually produce. You have to add more and more and more, and then it gets a little ridiculous. Even on wet mode for the Panthers. Start off on afterburner from the beginning to end, it's still not enough. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for a heavy cargo transport SSTO that can not only get into orbit with a very heavy payload, but also have plenty of Delta V left over for any maneuvering in orbit that's required in order to get a satellite, into a higher orbit or whatever the case may be. Just barely making it into orbit is okay, but it's not great. However, we did unlock the nuclear engines. So everyone was saying, why don't you just use a rocket SSTO like you've been doing, but add nuclear engines to get more Delta V once you get up there? And that seemed like a solid idea, to build a rocket SSTO that gets up there with plenty of Delta V, but then you can open up the nuclear engine to really sip on the fuel and make any amount of orbital maneuvers that you need to in order to place the satellite or space station part in the correct orbit. So for the next couple of streams, we would work on trying to build something like this. Nuclear SSTOs are really fun when you have the proper amount of, or the proper type of engines in order to make it work. Right now, all we have is pretty much rockets. The Panther jet engines don't really do much. With the technology that we have right now, I could build a Panther jet engine nuclear SSTO, but it would probably only carry about 1 Kerbal. Maybe 2 if I'm lucky. But when you're talking about trying to get about 20 tons into orbit using Panther engines and then trying to use nuclear engines to burn the rest of the way up, that's a lot of work. And I'm not talking about a lot of work during flight. I'm talking about a lot of work trying to figure out the right combination to make it work, especially with Panther engines. And nuclear engines might sound great while in space, but in atmosphere they suck and they're heavy. We would try the rocket/nuclear engine design carrying about 9 tons into space, which is about the same limit as our current heavy cargo transport could put into space. Whenever you're building something brand new with new technology, you want it to succeed whatever it is you have in place. You don't want it to be the same as or worse than, because then you're not making any progress, you're not making any innovation. So the older one can haul up about 6 or 7 tons into space. This one was aiming for about 9 to 10 tons. Now, this is not the greatest in the world because the cargo bays that we unlocked are really small. So if anything, it would just be a string of satellites that'd be able to put into space. The first test didn't do quite all that great. We were having some real problems with it, mostly because of the fact that I still hadn't figured out the correct gravity turn. And gravity turns for SSTOs, especially rocket SSTOs, are very important. During the gravity turn, if it's a gravity turn that's too soon, you'll burn up an atmosphere or waste a lot of fuel trying to push through the atmosphere. If you do it too late, you'll reach orbit very quickly. Well, not orbit, excuse me. You'll reach space very quickly, your apoapsis very quickly, but then you'll try to burn as hard as you can in space before you get past your apoapsis, which sometimes happens before you're able to, and you start falling back to Kerbin. And then you start wasting fuel, bringing the nose up, trying to keep yourself in space before you're able to get into orbit. You have to find that sweet spot. Every single rocket SSTO has it. Every single rocket has it. It's a sweet spot where you can make the gravity turn maneuver just right so that you burn just the perfect amount of fuel to not only speed up and get into space, but then make a orbit using very little amount of fuel. So I think this prototype could have made it, but at this point in time, we were looking at something a little better. So we went back to the drawing board. On Thursday, we would build the second prototype. Well, technically the third, the very first one I fiddled with off screen, off camera. So technically it'd be the third prototype, although I would call it the Heavy Cargo SSTO dash or Mark 6 or whatever, because we've already been through a couple of heavy cargo SSTOs. But in this design, I would actually try to put the cargo bay further back. You see, in KSP, the cargo bays generate a lot of drag, and you have to put that into account when you're flying, especially when you're re-entering. If all your drag is at the nose of the craft, it has a tendency to want to flip over. It's almost as if you have a bunch of wings up front. So the idea was to push the cargo bay all the way to the back, so that the front of the SSTO would be heavy, or heavier, especially during re-entry. We would ditch the nuclear engine idea for now, and just go straight up rockets for now. But I wanted to use the new tech. We had bought them using science points, so I figured we're going to use them. So for the next SSTO prototype, we actually go for the larger, more powerful rocket engine that we had just unlocked. By comparison to the skipper engine, we will be able to save more fuel and generate more power for our SSTOs. I know that sounds weird, since this larger rocket engine is typically always called a fuel guzzler for a reason. Now, I could sit here and tell you why that's not true and why that doesn't work out the way you think it might actually work out. You think bigger rocket engines, more fuel, more guzzle, not as fuel efficient. All I can say is when it comes to TWR, ISP, and weight, these three things can really make a huge difference, a big difference when it comes to saving fuel. TWR for starters, and this is just throwing you some random numbers, but I'm going to exaggerate it so you understand where I'm coming from. Let's say you have an engine that has a very high ISP, is very lightweight, but its thrust is something to be desired of. That'd be great for something maybe in space. But if you try putting that on an SSTO and using it to get through the atmosphere, you're going to burn up so much fuel because of the simple fact you're going to spend so much time in the atmosphere because your engine is so weak and it's so slow that you might not even make it into orbit. Whereas if you have an engine that might have real crappy ISP, but incredible amount of thrust, but is also extremely heavy, not only will you be able to get into orbit within the first go, but you'll be able to get up there with plenty of fuel left over. Well, why is that? Very simple. You're able to go from A to B very quickly. This changes the game immensely. You're able to go from Kerbal Space Center into orbit before your engine has enough time to drink up all the fuel in your tanks, leaving you with plenty left over when you get into orbit. Compared to the other engine that supposedly has great ISP, very lightweight, but crap for thrust by comparison. So we launched this next prototype. It does okay, but it still has that problem of flipping backwards during re-entry. And this is, of course, because of the darn cargo bays being extremely draggy in stock KSP. That's just the nature of the beast. We have to find a way around it. On Friday's stream, we actually had a few things that happened that were pretty cool. The launch of Starship was happening during the stream, so we were able to kind of cut a little bit from SpaceX's channel and put it up on the top left corner for everybody to watch during the stream. In the stream itself, however, I would ditch the current heavy cargo transport design and go for something a little bit more simpler because it was getting way too complex for very little return. So I went for the new fuel tanks that we had just unlocked, the nice big one. And instead of one of those new engines, I put two of them on there. Instead of the cargo bay being just up in front, I made it the entire length of the body. All in all, it was coming up to about 18 tons of payload. Now this would change a few things because not only are we trying to build a heavy cargo transport, but we want to update our heavy fuel transport as well. So if we somehow manage to find some sort of sweet spot where the heavy cargo transport could become the heavy fuel transport as well, then we can have one SSTO to do two things, no longer separate. So in this prototype, I was just seeing whether or not we could have basically two large rockets on either side of the fuselage with some wings strapped on it. The idea here is that eventually we're going to get rid of those stupid, incredibly freaking draggy cargo bays that really can't hold much other than maybe satellites, and perhaps have some sort of hollow center where we could put space station parts, fuel tanks, things of this nature, and start lifting that into orbit, which would be really helpful and really nice. Kind of like a big giant SSTO truck bed where we could just load it up with whatever we want and send it up there. Thankfully, we were able to create it and have enough time to not only watch the launch of the Starship, but also fly the next next prototype. And the next prototype worked very well, actually. The re-entry was a little something to be desired of, but hey, it's a prototype. But unlike the other prototypes that either blew up, crashed, or landed far away from the KSC, this one actually got to the KSC with some fuel to spare. So it was a very successful mission, and we learned a lot. Now, we would not have a Saturday stream, especially for KSP. We want to try to switch it up a little bit for this channel. I realize that it's mostly a KSP channel, but if you do look inside the channel, you'll find plenty of other video games that I like to play. Some old, some new, some more of a horror kind of aspect to them, like Project Zomboid and stuff like that. But anyway, if you liked this video, please leave a like, and if you loved it, consider subscribing. We also have a membership program. If you become a member, get cool emojis and badges and stuff next to your name. Pretty cool, check it out. But thank you all for being here, and thank you all for being part of the channel. Love you all. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video or stream. Bye for now. Bye-bye.